you'll sit for your tape job, okay? Generally, or you have to really crank this guy up there. So I generally sit for this tape. All right, so let's talk through the Lodi. Okay, so what we need for the Lodi, I'm gonna use a light spray. And you guys should too, because these pieces will pop off as you're putting them on. So generally the rule of thumb is when an athlete's going into play and their shoe needs to go on, you need to use your heel and lace pad, okay? Because you still need to protect their foot in the shoe. And so what you would do, we've split this in half, right? This is just a typical heel and lace pad. It's split in half. You'll put the one half right back quite low on the heel, okay? It does not go in the Achilles, that's gonna be too high. So it's right here on the back side of the calcaneus. Just made that a little too narrow. And then we adapted this extra piece here. It's not necessary. Some athletic trainers were never taught this, but I like to kind of anchor that down so it doesn't slip and slide. Now, if you're just in the clinic and you're like, I'm just testing this out, they're not going to play, they're just going home, they're walking, yes, their shoe's going to be on, but they're not running. What you could opt for is no heel and lace pad, but just a white piece of coverall just to protect the skin so that Achilles doesn't feel pinched, okay? And I'll show you what you're gonna do with the second piece when we get there. So we're gonna have the foot up. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna create our first anchor. Now you can see very clearly her med heads on the foot, okay? So we're gonna find the fifth to the first, kind of just hugging below it, from lateral to medial, and there's our first anchor. Now, depending on if you've seen this before, there are a lot of ways to do a Lodi. You can go, the way I'm gonna teach you is the fifth to the fourth, to the third, to the second, to the first. There's other athletic trainers that learn from the first to the first, the third to the third, the fifth to the fifth, or any combination of those three. But I'm gonna teach you the way I was taught, and that's to create our teardrops from the fifth. Okay, so here's our anchor, comes around, I've got good tension, comes around to hit that heel and lace pad. We're gonna come back around and measure, rip, thumb right here to kind of anchor, pull, and lay down. You see how this never got put down? Fourth, teardrop, rip, thumb, anchor, pull. And why I anchor is because I don't want it all to be pulling right there. If you just go around and just crank and pull, all they're going to feel is there's a lot of pressure right there and not the support here. So we do pressure pulling through the tape. As I loop around, I anchor and pull the rest up as I lay it down. 4, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3. We're on 2, right? Mm-hmm. You see how like this is starting to build back there? And that's okay. That's why we added that little padding. Pull around, hold and pull. Now we've got the arch, the longitudinal arch built, okay? Now we're gonna do our horizontal arch. So we kind of like bisect that calcaneus. We're going to follow the same angle as our anchor, giving a little tug up. Now the thing I want you to note is that you have to kind of come up onto the medial foot here, okay? You can't stop at the arch, the tape. You have to go past it. We're going to overlap 50% on the one below it. And I'm giving this foot, these pieces, a little tug up because again, I want to create an arch, right? I don't just want to lay these down. I want to give them a little tug until I get up here. And then right here, I'm going to just anchor back. I'm not going to pull a lot there, okay? Because I don't want to pinch the metatarsals. So you can kind of see I've come up pretty high, but we're going to cover all that in, okay? We're going to go from lateral to medial, filling in all those little edges, okay? So now we've locked them down with another anchor. Now we're ready to close. So if they were going into play, we would need to protect the laces area. Okay, that would go down. You've already sprayed a little on the top, so that's going to stay. And then what we're going to do is close it. It doesn't need to wrap around the entire foot. It's just like we're putting that to close it down so that that doesn't slip out, okay? So I didn't necessarily close it on the bottom or connect it, and I didn't put a lot of tension through it. That was just our last piece, okay? So then usually what I do, because again, there's sticky spray, there's tension, I have them put their sock on, usually here, being careful to not pull any of the pieces, and then we have them slowly stand on it. Because it can be a little daunting when you've got the tape under your foot. You'll start to feel there's tightness, but they should not be like, this is all I feel, okay? Then you pulled too hard on that back angle, okay? They should feel pretty lifted, pretty supported. If they've got any type of foot or arch or heel pain, it will be gone at this point. And so they'll be able to walk without any of that, okay? So you can kind of see where we go. A lot of times if it's more metatarsalgia, like say they have pain here, I might have come up a smidge higher, but I also can add a metatarsal pad to their shoe, okay? We still do the same Lodi, but we just add a little padding to lift the met heads, okay? But that's our Lodi. So again, you don't have to use the heel and lace if you're just testing this out. They're not running or playing on it, but we practice with that so you get all the pieces down right. You will have a small piece of your coverall, so just make sure that that's wider than the half of this, okay, so that it kind of envelops that, and it should be a little longer. And when you're in the clinic, you can just use this. Okay, and so another rule of thumb when you're using any type of the coverall stretch, we never cut into the box. We always cut lengthwise across, because when we go lengthwise across, we end up getting the stretch. It will not stretch the other way. Okay, so that's just kind of a rule of thumb when we're using our 8-inch box. We always cut straight across.